Here are the instructions on how to use our new Cannon Valley Makers button maker. It has 4 different sizes that you can use. This is the second to largest, the 44 millimeter. When you get it out, each box has a parts checker on the top. And when I open it up, I get a top. This is the top. The base is right here. A sample button. I'll show you why that's useful in a second. And then 2 pegs. Our first step is to install the top. You'll notice it has a little thing that sticks out right there, and that slots into that place right there. And you can see I'm going to slot this right up and in like that. Okay. This next part is a little nervous making, I'll be honest, because I'm going to slide this in here, but you'll notice that it resists. It hits this peg right here and resists. So what you have to do is hold this up, and it's still resisting, but not quite as much, and there's enough give in the system that you can pop it over. Do that gently. I am worried about the plastic over time, but that is how this one is designed. So now this peg that sticks out is in between these 2 posts. I'm going to put one of the pegs here, and the other one slots in over here in this hole, like that. And what this does is it positions the buttons perfectly in between without you having to double check it. There are also button making supplies. They match 44 millimeters here. These are the button backs. These are the metal tops. And then in addition, you'll find paper blanks here and Mylar covers here. The paper blanks are great, they're pre-made, but if you have your own paper that you want to use, it should be pretty thin paper, and we also have circle cutters that are in the set that match the 44 millimeters and each of the different size buttons. So you can use your own paper. I'm going to set up my first button. I get 1 Mylar cover. These stick together. So 1 Mylar cover, 1 metal base. And the way these metal bases get stored, they often will stick together. So make sure you just have 1. That's the most common reason for jamming of buttons. So put my button in. My artwork goes towards this post, straight up and down, like that. And then my Mylar cover goes across. I then shift this underneath the button maker and press down. Some button makers make a really big ka-chunk. This one makes a fairly gentle one, so don't press it farther than you need to, but you do want to press it until it's firmly down. Here's the pin back. This is going to be what goes against your clothing or backpack, and it opens down like that. So I'm going to be mindful of that as I set it in. You can see these lines right here. These are how you're going to align it if you want your button to be straight up and down. The art shifts sideways as the button maker works. So I put my button pin in, I actually did that backwards, so that it's lined up like this. The down is down that way. And then if I put it in, my cover is going to get connected there. So I want to make sure that the pin part that's going to go to my clothing is down in the machine and the flat part is up towards the button. That's still in the handle. I slide it back over and then I press down until I feel resistance, firm resistance. I pop it back out, and here's my button, and it is aligned with the pin. When I put everything away, I just make sure I get all the parts back in. I'm going to lift this up again. Maybe. There we go. I'm going to lift this up again and carefully slide. Oh, first things first. Pegs come out. If it's not moving, don't force it. The pegs come out, and then I lift this piece up, squeeze that underneath carefully, slide that out. That goes back in the box. The sample button goes back in the box. I'm gonna keep that out for a moment. And then finally, this gets pulled out like this. So I just pull it straight down and it'll detach. And this gets put back in the box like this. The sample button is really useful. If you'll notice, the button is smaller than the original paper. So if you use the sample button, you can get a sense of where your visible part will be. You can even trace around that if you're working with a younger person. So you can trace around on the paper to show what is going to show on the button. Anything on this very edge gets wrapped around and won't be visible. So that's why the sample button is in there, to give you a sense of how big the finished button will be, so you don't do your artwork too far over. I slip my Mylar back in there. All the button pieces go back into the bag. And we close up this, double checking the parts. I had a base, a top, 2 pegs, and the sample button. Voila.